and welcome to Liverbird TV. I've been wanting to do this video for a couple of weeks because it's been infuriating me because I'm a big listener of TalkSport and I listen to the financial experts they get on the channel, and I just cannot for the love of me understand how Chelsea are getting away with what they're getting away with. It's absolutely unbelievable. I'm just going to go into detail some of the piece I've got here to read out, and then I'm going to speak about some stats that just completely blew me away. So, how are Chelsea not breaking, FFP? So how are they not? So basically, it says here, Chelsea have become the envy of every other Premier League club due to their excessive spending under Todd Boehly. The Blues have made over a dozen new signings in the summer window alone and show no signs of slowing down. Since Boehly took over the Premier League club in May 2022, the London outfit have laid out well over 900 million. In 2023, Chelsea have broken the British transfer record twice with the capture of Enzo Fernandez for 106 million, and then 7 months before they splashed out 115 million for Moises Caicedo. With that in mind, many Rivals fans are left wondering how Chelsea are able to spend such sums while still complying with financial regulations. So the question here is, how are Chelsea not breaking FFP when you consider Everton got a 10-point deduction? The first and primary reasons Chelsea are not failing foul of FFP is that they have found financial workarounds for their incoming players. The club have handed many new stars extremely long-term contracts rather than the traditional 4 or 5 year deals. And the recorded arrival of Caicedo, for example, had penned an 8-year deal with an option of a 9th, which is fucking ridiculous. I mean, this, one for, the lad they got from Man City, 9-year deal. I mean, what's all that about? I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous that that they're able to even to do this. Cole Palmer, sorry, 9-year deal. What if he breaks his leg next year? It's just an absolute joke. So to go in here further, UEFA closed the loophole this summer by including a 5-year maximum deal on long contract lengths, but the Premier League has not yet followed suit. That's worrying. So UEFA have seen this coming, that Chelsea are clearly just taking the piss out of everybody, and closed the loophole, but the Premier League hasn't. Now, London-based FA, Chelsea, shitloads of money, something doesn't sit right there for me. That sounds to me like there's a few brown envelopes being passed, like there was at Manchester United when they were allowed to lose 40 million in COVID losses. So it says here, Chelsea's 12th place finish last season also means that they do not have to adhere to UEFA regulations as they did not qualify for Europe. Simon Jordan has outlined how that approach under Boehly has helped the Blues stay within laws of FFP, albeit with a loophole. The former Crystal Palace owner explained on TalkSport, here's what's happening with their transfers. I think they'll struggle to do it in the longer game, but until they start getting some achievements on the pitch. But here's where they really are. They spent 800 million on players, they spent 600 million last year and capitalised that over in 8 years because of all those players were on 8-year contracts. So all of a sudden that 600 million spend is averaging 75 million a year because you're dividing 600 million by 8. He has now had the change because the football fraternity has said you can't do it over 8 years, so they've rolled it back to 5. The second reason is more straightforward, in that Chelsea have offloaded high earners such as Aubameyang, Koulibaly, and replaced them with young stars on considerably lower wages, regardless of the club's transfer fees. But here's one for you. Did you know that apparently Todd Boehly funded the buying of Chelsea with Saudi money? Where did they offload a lot of these players? Saudi. Third for the Blues has recouped over 200 million in player sales, along with Kai Havertz fetching an accounted profit of 65 million. The German had 2 years left on his contract he signed, and his 71 million move in 220, meaning his remaining amortised book value is 28 million, and his Gunners transfer resulted in a 36 million profit. The departures of Mason Mount, Ruben Loftus-Cheek for a combined 75 million count as pure profit on the books as he came from the academy and didn't command a fee, as would that for Conor Gallagher. So you can see that they're making obviously a lot of profit, but still, this is where it gets trickier. Should Chelsea fail to recoup Champions League money next season, then they would need further player sales to avoid falling off the tightrope. Simon Jordan told TalkSport, not eventually, but if Chelsea don't pull up revenue and start to get back in the Champions League or generate other revenue streams, then this is going to catch up with them sooner rather than later. But right now, 800 million's worth of spend equates to 135 million a year, with transfer losses that you've got 200 million worth of transfer gains on Havertz, Mount, and Loftus-Cheek. Jordan Adden, it's a gamble in terms of consequence of financial fair play. So let's have a look at what the consequences is. The consequence in financial fair play is as we are suggesting, that people would have paid 2.5 billion for a business and are funding 800 million worth of transfers. It won't take a smack on the knuckles like other clubs are getting 10 to 20 million fines. So, like you say there, what's the point in giving Chelsea a fine? They'll welcome that. So this is what I'm saying. So with in regards to Everton getting a 10-point deduction, there's no point doing that with that's the reason why. Because if you give people, you know, if you give people, you know, financial penalties when they're not going to be asked, especially when they're spending this kind of money. Now, this piece I read here was from last year, so now take into account this year, right? So they've spent a ton load of money again. How are Chelsea not in financial trouble with the profit and sustainability? Because if you think about it, right, there was an amazing stat given on Talksport yesterday, and this piece I've just read there was from August last year. So you just think that this was last year, the figures that they had done. Now think of this year, but this is a crazy stat. Since the Premier League began in 1992, Everton have spent 1.1 billion on players. Todd Boehly, since 2022, has spent 1.2 billion on players. So Todd Boehly has spent more than Everton in their entire history of the Premier League. How is that possible? How can that be right? So to me, something's not right at Chelsea. I don't like the fact Manchester United were allowed to lose 40 million in COVID when everybody else wasn't. Manchester City, don't get me started on them for their 115 charges. That's a disgrace. You know, the Premier League's in the shit at the moment because we've got Chelsea who are completely taking the piss. Man City have had a decade's worth of cheating that they could get relegated and should get relegated and stripped to their titles, in my opinion. And Man United are allowed to lose 40 million. And then there's clubs like Leicester and Forest and Everton that haven't got any money to sort of throw the biggest lawyers at the Premier League. In Man City's case, even sue them, right? So they just 10-point deduct all the clubs that really can't fight back. And it's not good enough. Something needs to be done. I remember when John Henry flew over for the Chelsea game. He will fly over again if this goes on and fight Liverpool's corner, because we are run absolutely fantastic at Liverpool Football Club. We are run to every pie, every pint of beer, every merchandise sold goes into the team. Something worries me about Chelsea, including the fact they sold 2 hotels at absolutely astronomical value. Something ain't right. Money talks. You've got to remember there is always somebody in a position that has a decision. Judges, police officers, whatever. They can be paid off. I'm telling you now, there's brown envelopes going somewhere from Man City, from Man United, and from Chelsea. Get your thoughts on this video. You'll never walk alone.